Okay. Hello, everyone. Maybe we can start, and if more people join us along the way, great. For those who don't know me yet, I'm Beatriz. I'm from Association para Respostas Sociais from Portugal.
Hey, everybody.
Hello. We are one of the partners of this project of human libraries, and yeah, I'm the responsible for youth workers training and for the organization of these webinars. And Vinicius is here with us with all his knowledge about human libraries. Many of you already know him. And so, yeah, I hope this is being a good learning experience for you. If you are here for the first time, welcome. And Vinicius, the floor is yours.
All right, thank you very much. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us again. For those that are here ready for the third session, for those that are here for the first time, thank you for joining us. Now in the beginning, I'll do a little recap of the previous session as I'm doing in all of the sessions. And then we can continue to our journey on how to implement correctly human libraries, right, in our own communities. Today, we're going to be focusing a little bit on the skills and techniques that we can have ourselves to solve some conflicts that may arise in the moment of implementation or the moments of preparation for the human library. So we're going to be discussing a little bit of like mediator skills, conflict resolution skills, and then we're going to see some steps again of how to implement the human libraries. But then in this time, I will ask for you guys to think for yourselves what is going to be necessary for you to implement your own human libraries, okay? So it's going to be a little bit of me talking a lot, but also asking things from you guys. So as always, I expect for you to participate whenever is necessary. And please feel free to ask your questions in the chat or raise your hand sometimes if you need something to have an input. Please, if you can have your camera on, it's always better for me to see your faces. If not, I completely understand. All right, so without losing any time, I will be starting to present here. So just give me 1 second. And there we go. All right. I think you guys can see it, right? Yeah. Okay. So today is the third session of the PECA webinars, How to Implement a Human Library. Today, we're going to be talking about implementation and facilitation of the human library events. So the whole process of how to implement it, and then the necessary skills that we need to have to facilitate those sessions ourselves. So welcome to all of you global citizens once again. I'm very grateful to see you guys here.
Vini?
In this pack of webinars, yes? Yeah.
Sorry, just to tell you that you have some things in front of the image that you are sharing with us. I don't know if you can see it from your
Not
screen.
really.
We have like a... Yeah, maybe if you do it again.
Okay. What was it? It was like another page?
It was
open?
like a big square, like a black square.
Okay. I couldn't see it. For 1 second.
Maybe it was only me. Maybe I'm interrupting you.
No, I also saw it.
Okay.
It was gray square.
Yeah, exactly.
What about
Yeah,
now?
No, it's even bigger.
It's still there, yeah.
It's strange.
Moved.
Page of Zoom by any chance?
Now it's better.
Our views.
What about now?
Zoom, the screen sharer can't see the page, but
Now
the
it's
viewers
much better.
can see it. Maybe that's why.
Okay, let me just try it once more. I think you guys are seeing the screen that I used to see your faces, but that's weird because it's not supposed to show it. Okay, let me see. Do you see anything?
We
Yes.
still can see it, but
On
it's
the
a bit
top.
smaller now.
But it's like a very small one in the right corner, right?
A
Yes.
small one in the right corner, yeah. And
On the top.
on the top, but it's
Okay,
better now. We can see the.
I will do this. So I'm not gonna be seeing you for now, but that's okay. If anything, you guys just say something and I will pay attention to it.
Okay.
Okay, so in the last session, we talked a little bit about how to propose for the books, this whole process, and how to prepare the books in this human library events. So we understood that some things were very important, and some of the words that you guys described as the main words for that session were feeling comfortable, support, awareness, the importance of self-love, how human libraries can be important for the comprehension of our own story and of others. Also, trust that is necessary to be for us to have between ourselves and the books and the readers. So it's a process that, as we saw, it's very vulnerable and it requires this trust or this safe space that we have to create. We also understood about respect, attention, safety, the guidance that we have to do with books when we are creating them. But most importantly, I would say is these two words here, which is the support that we need to provide, because as we know, and as we agreed, this whole event is an event that is very vulnerable for the books. So our biggest priority in the end is to make them feel supported and to make them feel aware of the whole process itself, but also for us to be aware of everything that can happen to them and to prevent ourselves for worse situations. From my experience, honestly, all of the events that I created were not really, never something bad happened, but it's always better for us to be prepared for any kind of conflict that may arise. And as long as we are prepared to deal with them, we can make sure that the books are feeling safe. So today, this is a little bit of what we're going to be talking about. And the first thing that I want to talk to you is about conflicts and conflict resolution, okay? So when we talk about conflict, there is a lot of ways that we can perceive conflict. And first, I would like to know, so I'll ask for you guys to put in the chat, what is your idea of what a conflict is? Like, when we think about the word conflict, is it a bad thing, a good thing? It's a problem that needs to be solved? What is a conflict for you guys? So you can write it in the chat, some of your answers. I'll give you some time for that. So what would be a conflict for you? And it can be like just a simple answer, okay? Just so I understand what your ideas are. Okay, misunderstanding between two parts, no communication, okay? That's good. A discussion, okay, mutual, one side misunderstanding, yes, lack of communication, good. Different ideas are achieving the goal. Can be a different point of view and the both sides try to impose it. No empathy, okay, good. Prejudice, okay, prejudice can create conflict for sure. All right, so as we can see here, a lot of things pointing to the miscommunication, right? And the importance of communication when we're talking about conflicts, but also a lot of negative, let's say, connotations regarding conflicts, right? So those are the most two common things and answers, I would say, when we think about conflict, because usually we have a very negative vision of it. And well, there are many ways to describe this negative vision, but one of the ones that I like the most is this one, which is the negative way of perceiving a conflict is the interaction of interdependent people who perceive the existence of opposing goals, desires, and values. So like you guys said, miscommunication and also misinterpretation of positions, and then who see the other party as a potentially capable of interfering with their realizations of what they want. So when we talked about conflicts, usually when we think about, oh, okay, I had a conflict or a conflict is coming, we see it as a very bad thing. And that's okay. And that's normal. That's how usually people see it. And that's how we are also taught to see conflicts, right? We are taught to see problems and conflicts as something bad that should sometimes be avoided, even if possible. So usually we see a conflict as a threat. We see the conflict as two different positions opposing each other. And we see the conflict as a way of me winning against someone losing, or if someone loses or if someone wins, I will be the one losing. So we have this very competitive set of mind whenever we think about a conflict also. So it's usually the imposition the other needs to give up or I need to give up so the situation will be resolved. So before we go into this, I'll stop projecting now and just like have a little conversation with you guys so I can see your faces better again. So usually when we think about conflicts, right, we go into this negative setting and this negative way of perceiving things. I'm not saying that is a bad thing, honestly, but and it usually is how we were taught, right? This is how we grow up to understand conflict. This is how our parents teach us, or the teachers in school, they also teach us. However, when we talked about mediation, and this is as I told you guys in the first day of the webinars, that's my specialization. I did my master's in conflict resolutions and mediation. And then we talk about conflict from the mediation perspective. We see conflict as an opportunity. And we see conflict as something that we cannot deny, as something that we hardly can avoid in our lives, and it's something that needs to be dealt with, either in a positive way or in a negative. Okay? So the conflicts, they're always going to be there, and we have to deal with them somehow. The only difference is, are we prepared to deal with those conflicts, or are we not prepared to deal with those conflicts? So in mediation, we have this thing that we call the win-win approach, which is usually when I try to see a conflict, and okay, I know that this cannot always happen, but this is what we try to achieve, and that's what we strive for. So usually is when a conflict situation appears to us, we try to find ways where this conflictuous situation can be solved in a win-win way, which means that I will win and the other party will also win something. So it's a more collaborative process. It's a process that takes time, it takes skill, it takes listening, it takes patience, it takes empathy. But that's how we try to perceive it. And usually when we do that, that's a positive way of solving the conflict. And then we can move forward to something extra, to something better next after that. So I want you guys to think a little bit now, and I will present you some options on how do you perceive yourself when you think about conflict. So when I know that all of you guys have conflict in your lives, sometimes we have a lot of conflict, sometimes we have way more than we want. And that's, I don't know, where is the stage that you are right now? But I want you to think about yourself and think about how do you do with conflict. So what kind of person you are when someone comes to you trying to find conflict, or when a family member presents you a conflictual situation. And I will present you guys some options to think about it, which is, which animal am I? So right here, I have the first animal, which is a turtle, right? And as you can see, the turtle, they are, as we know also, they're very calm, they're very quiet, they are very slow also in their actions. And I would say that usually the turtles, they try to avoid dealing with the opposition, right? Because when a conflictual situation happens to them, they try their best to hide in their shells and to avoid it as maximum as they can. So maybe you are more like a turtle yourself. Then we have the lions. The lions, they are people that usually have to win. So whenever some problem appear, they need to be the one on top. Whenever they play a game, let's say, they need to win. They really, really need to win. Whenever someone presents a conflict to them, they will do almost everything that they can to make sure that they will be the ones winning in the end of that discussion, in the end of that situation. So maybe you feel more aligned on yourself. Then we have zebras. And zebras, they are like, as we can see, right? Are they black? Are they white? We don't know for sure. So the zebras, sometimes they are okay to lose. Sometimes they are okay to win. They are okay to give up sometimes. Sometimes they will try a little bit more to win. So they are most likely okay it depends on the situation and the moment and how they're feeling. Sometimes zebras win. sometimes they lose. That's fine. Then we have this animal, the chameleon, right? And we know the chameleons, they change colors to adapt every situation. So the chameleons, they will lose a lot. They are used to it. They will just adapt whatever the person is trying to throw at them, and they won't try to fight back. So they will not care about winning the argument. They lose, and that's okay, as long as they can like probably avoid the conflict itself by giving up on their idea or whatever they try to defend first. They will adapt, and that's going to be fine. So maybe you feel more like a chameleon. And then we have the dolphins, which is they try for both of us to win. The dolphins, they are very communicative animals. They can even communicate with other species. They can communicate with humans, with whales. So they really like to talk, and they try to find usually a way of winning in a situation that is beneficial for both. So dolphins, they will try their best. They will get tired even if they have to, but they will try their best to make people win with them. So we have these 5 different animals, and I will present them soon. But I would like for you to think for yourselves a little bit, okay? And then I would like for you to put in the chat, what animal do you think you identify yourself the most? So we have the turtle, we have the dolphin, we have the chameleon, we have the zebra, and the lions. So which ones do you guys think you are? So Filipa is for sure, she's a dolphin. She wrote very fast. Ariane is a zebra. Between a dolphin and a zebra, okay. A zebra, a turtle, lion, that's interesting. Sometimes a turtle, sometimes a lion, I see. A zebra or a dolphin, okay. Dolphin, lions, okay. Dolphin, lions, I guess. Okay. All right. So as we can see, well, we have a lot of turtles, dolphins, and lions here. Not many chameleons, I would say. So that's interesting. Catherine is a dolphin, a turtle, and a lion. That is quite impressive. Oh, we have some chameleon here. I am a chameleon because I think he has a great method of conflict resolution. Okay, we can hear about that. And Solomon says that all of them, it's a very good answer also, I would say. So I would like to ask you guys, for those that feel comfortable, of course, but if not, I can point some people here, and then if you feel comfortable, you can share. But I would like for you, the lions, people that chose the lion, let's say, why do you think yourself as a lion? And if you feel comfortable, you can turn your mic on and I can hear a little bit. So why do you see yourself as a lion? What does the lion represent to you in that situation? We have a lot of lions here, so I know who you are. Maybe, let me see. Yeah, Effin, if I said your name correctly. Thank you.
It was correct this time.
Thank you.
I see myself as a lion because, if I'm in a conflict, I won't be in a conflict that I would lose. If I enter a conflict, I'm thinking that I'm going to win this. If I'm not going to win that conflict, then I'm not in it in the first,
Okay.
in the start.
Okay,
If someone
okay.
comes to me with a conflict, I don't think I'll be wrong. Maybe they have some points, but in the end, I think I will prove right.
Okay, that's a very good thing, and thank you very much for sharing. So I would say that you are like in between a turtle and a lion, right? So when you don't think you can win the conflict, you avoid it. When you think you can win the conflict, you go until the end and you fight for it. That's good.
Yeah, kinda.
Thank you. Solomon, please.
Yes, hello. I said all of them because the life is includes sometimes good. I'm sorry. The life
Don't
is
worry.
changeable periods. The life is includes changeable periods. Life sometimes good and sometimes bad things. Because I'm sorry. I think all of them. Yeah.
You are all of them. Okay, yeah,
Mhm.
that's very valid also. Thank you very much. So, what about the people that said that they are more like a dolphin? I can go for the dolphins already. Yeah. Anyone that said is a dolphin would like to share their why a dolphin? How do you see yourself as a dolphin? We have a lot of dolphins. Dimitri is a dolphin. Catherine is also somehow a dolphin, let's say. Marve is somehow a dolphin. Patricia is also a dolphin. So who would like to share their opinion?
I could share.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah. So my name is Monica, and thank you for having me. So I would say I'm a dolphin because I do speak the other languages of the animals. Um, but it's only if I don't have anything in the game myself. So if I'm the neutral one, so I know how to communicate with others and see what intention they have behind them and what emotions are at stake. So there's a lot of psychology in it to be a dolphin,
Mhm.
I think, just to enter the room,
Okay,
um, see how people are behaving, body language, and so forth, but also to bridge between the different animals and to get to the core of the problem that we're sitting around the table discussing. So
I
everyone
see.
can feel, okay, I got something out of it. So you need the lion to feel he's winning or she's winning or they are winning. The zebra to feel comfortable. So
That's very
yeah, I think
good.
that's the role of the dolphin. Yeah.
Would you say it's easy, Monica, to do that?
No,
No,
definitely
not
not.
at all,
It's
right? Yeah,
exhausting.
yeah. I think
Yeah,
being
yeah. Because,
being all of them is tiring at certain levels, but I would say that being a dolphin is quite tiring also. So thank you very much, Monica. Um, and as we can see, the dolphins and the lions, they are a little bit on the opposite sides, I would say, but that doesn't make any of them correct or any of them wrong, right? Sometimes we think like, oh, the lions are bad because they just want to win. Well, I would say that a lot of you guys are correct in what you said here. When you said, I feel like all of them, or I feel like two or three or four of them. Why? Because although, and this is something that I truly believe, that we have more tendencies to be one or the other a little bit stronger. So maybe some of us are a little bit lion, some of us are a little bit more dolphin. In the end of the day, we all share all of those traits. So it's quite impossible for us to be just one of them, but we share all of these five traits. And when we talk about ourselves sharing these traits, we also talk about other people sharing these traits, right? So when we're talking about conflict and communication, this is one of the ways that we can see and try to understand ourselves in those moments. Why is this important? Because, well, once I know that I am very competitive or that I usually avoid conflicts, let's say like a turtle, I know when a conflict arises, what I will probably be doing. And then I can choose, is this what I want to do this time or not really? So it's really a process of being more self-aware of how we perceive and how we deal with conflict ourselves. Okay? But then it also helps us to understand how other people's are. Because maybe we are talking to someone, and let's say in the book's construction, or let's say in the process of the human library, a conflict arises. We can try to very quite easily, if we remember these five animals, to understand what that person is. Maybe that person is a lion and they're just really trying to win that conflict. Or maybe that person is, let's say, maybe the book is a turtle and the conflict arises, but the book is like trying to avoid it and not really paying attention to it and not try to put energy into it. So, or maybe the book is way more like a chameleon and they're just being passive about it and letting the person do whatever they want and talk whatever they want about them. So this is a moment that we need to step in. So it's important for us to know that these five different levels, of course, communication is not only bound by these five different types, but they quite very well encapsulates, I think, our ways of dealing with conflict in our society in general. So if you said that you are a lion or a zebra or a turtle or a chameleon or a dolphin, it doesn't matter how you feel you are. I don't think there's right or wrong here. I just think that, yes, we have more of one of those in ourselves, but always we can try to train and feed those other animals. So once we try to understand how we are, then we can try to understand maybe what we're lacking. We can try to improve on that. But Fatima, you raise your hand. You can say, please.
Yeah. Before you showed us this page, I couldn't give any name to zebra. I mean, I said I'm zebra, I'm more like a zebra, but I couldn't say that it's cooperative person. I mean, it has a cooperative personality. But now it makes sense because for me, conflict itself sometimes is a solution. For example, sometimes you have to disagree with some people, disagree of something to find a solution and to achieve at something. You have to put some efforts to reach at it. But sometimes you also have to learn how to stop, where to stop, and you have to learn to give up of something. So, okay, now it makes sense. That's what I wanted to say.
Exactly. Thank you. I'm happy that now it made sense for you. So yes, as you can see here, lions competitive, turtles avoidance, dolphins are collaborative, zebras are cooperative, and chameleons are passive. There's a little bit difference between cooperative and collaborative. Cooperative, as Fatima was saying, is those that, yes, they are okay with sometimes losing if it makes sense for in their mind for that conflict in particular. So the cooperative, they will sometimes they will win, sometimes they will lose, and that's all okay. The collaborative, on the other hand, will always try to create a solution process between everyone. So like Monica, if I'm not mistaken, was saying before, it's quite tiring. It involves somehow of psychology skills. It involves talking a lot. It involves a lot of empathy from your side, a lot of patience maybe, because not everyone is on the same wavelength of trying to collaborate to solve conflict. But well, so bringing those 5 different animals here, and with that in mind, I would try to now present to you guys some of active listening and empathy techniques that we mediators use in our conflict resolution moments. And why I'm bringing these when we're talking about human libraries, just to make it more clear for you. So as I said before, conflicts, they may arise in 2 different moments specifically. One of the moments is when you're trying to get the story out of the book, because maybe you can miscommunicate one of your questions, you can miscommunicate your intentions, and that can be sometimes the books can find it harmful, maybe. So it's important for us to, oh, please, let me just, who has their mic on? Yeah. Okay. And this can be sometimes harmful for the book. So it's important for us to be ready to deal with those situations and to be ready to be supportive towards it. And also when it comes to the human library event itself, sometimes a reader may be conflict to us and we never know when this can happen. So it's important for us also to know how to deal with the situations without that letting them escalate. So in mediation, we have hundreds of skills and techniques that we use. So they are brought here, the ones that I use the most, and usually the ones that I use in my daily life. And when we're talking about these techniques, but also when we're talking about these ways of responding to conflict, these are like muscles, I would like to say. And the more you train yourself to be aware of them, the more you train yourself to be different from the one that you have the most in yourself, the easier it gets on a daily basis. So it's something that we all need to be training, and this is my challenge for you, which is to train some of those skills and techniques on your daily lives, just for fun, maybe sometimes. So the 4 techniques and skills that I personally use a lot in my life, and also whenever I'm doing something that requires the mediator skills, are the active listening plus rapport, paraphrasing, resuming, and staying positive. And I will explain each one of them. So active listening plus rapport. Rapport is that, and I'm not going to bring the terminological definition, but it's usually the way of creating a feeling between you and the other person that the person is being heard and feeling safe with you. And how do we do that usually? We pay attention to what they're saying. How do we pay attention? We look at them, right? It's very annoying, and you guys know, right? It happens to all of us when we're talking with someone and the person is looking to the other side, the person has their body turned to the other side, or maybe they're not really paying attention, they're looking on their phone or something. So whenever we are giving our moment to prepare the books, we should be able to give them our full attention. So no phones, no distractions. So it's just us looking at them and seeing what they have to say. Show that you're listening. So maybe nod your head a little bit, maybe do a sound like, okay, yes, just to show that, yes, I am listening and I'm paying attention. Let the other speak. Sometimes we like to ask questions and talk more than we listen. Um, not judging them, of course, questioning. So it's very interesting when and you can think about yourself also, when you're telling a story and the person is asking follow-up questions to know more about your story. It makes you more interested in sharing the story with that person. So making the right questions can be very interesting. Nonverbal communication. So like I said, it's having your body turn to the person, being kind to what you're, being kind and being mindful also. So not having that grumpy face, because it's hard to tell a story when someone has a grumpy face. So all of those things, they show to the person that yes, they are being listened to, and yes, they're they have they have the means to feel safe with you. This person is smiling at me, they're nodding when I speak, they're asking questions because they're interested. So yes, of course, I will share my story with them more freely. So that's one of the things that we can try to use. And like I said, those are techniques that we can use in our daily lives, right? Because, well, they kind of improve our communication, I think. Another one is paraphrasing, and I really like this one, which is to recontextualize a sentence without the latent emotions. And what does that mean? So whenever we tell someone we're sharing a story or we're sharing a problem or we're sharing a conflict, we put a lot of emotions in those phrases, right? So maybe we put the anger, we put sadness, and those emotions, although they are very important and it's very crucial for us to be able to understand that they're there, one thing that we can do is to say the sentence again, but without the emotion. In this way, we can try to prove that, yes, we understood what you're saying, but also we can make the problem become more easy to solve in a way. Because now the emotions are not really attached to the problem. We have the problem and we have the emotions. So something that we can try to do always is to say again what the person said, but then in a more logical way. So I understand that you're saying this and this and this, or when you say that, you actually mean this, and then you ask a question. So it's trying to understand what the other person is saying, and it's also a way of showing that you're listening to them. So paraphrasing is something that sometimes is a little bit hard to do, but like I said, the more you do it, the easier it gets. Another one, and it's kind of similar, but it has a different goal and objective, is resuming. And sometimes we have two people sharing a story, or more than two people sharing a story, and it's hard to understand what the main point of the story is, especially when there's a lot of emotions that are boiling up into that conflict, right? So one of the things that we can try to do, and I bring you an example here of two parents, which is the mom goes to the mediator and says like, the father goes to the mediator and says, well, she's constantly late. One second. Let me, yeah. Like, the father goes to the mom and is to the mediator and says, well, she's constantly late to bring him to school, and I can't stand that anymore. So he's very mad at that. And then she turns to the mediator and says, well, he does not care about what our son is eating, and he feeds him with all kinds of junk food. So in the end of the day, yes, they're mad with the actions that are happening, but both of them, and that's when the resume comes into hand, which is both of them are concerned with their son's health. So that's the main point here. The main point is they are mad with something that is missing, apparently, in their son's life. So once we do that, we like, okay, as I can understand, both of you care a lot about your son and you're worried about your son's health and your son's behavior and everything. Usually when we do that, we are creating space to start the conversation from a common ground, because they will be like, oh yes, this is what I want. Yes, this is what I'm concerned. So now we create a space for the conversation to happen. So let's say you are in a situation with the human library, a book is being very rude, situation escalates. Well, you can very easily try to understand and try to, then how we do that is just we listen to what they are saying and we try to see what the main problem and the main point there is. Always with in mind that yes, the person that we need to protect the most is the book themselves. So resuming is a way of trying to focus on the main point of the story without without making the participants or without making the person that you're trying to help feel that they're not being listened to. So first you listen to what they're saying, listen to the other saying, and then you try to find a common ground. And then the last one, which is the one that I really, really appreciate and I enjoy very much. And this is something that me personally, I struggle sometimes with using it, but it's staying positive in the way that we communicate. Sometimes when we communicate, we have the tendency to be overly negative in the things that we say. And they don't need to be negative in a certain way. So for example, and here I bring, I think 4 images as examples for that, which is instead of saying, sorry, I am not making a lot of sense. Maybe after we finish saying something, or when we are sharing our own story, maybe we can say that, oh, I'm sorry, I'm not making a lot of sense. We could say, thank you for understanding, or thank you for listening, or thank you for taking your time to listen to me. Whenever we say sorry to the other person, we open space for them to only say one thing. Either they can forgive you or not. But it's already stated there that you did something wrong. And that's the feeling that they're going to get. When you say thank you for understanding me, you give them space to say you're welcome. So now you didn't give the space for something wrong that happened, but actually you complimented them about something that they're doing for you. So it's a totally different feeling that you're going to share with that person. Here's a different example. Let's say, instead of like when you feel maybe that you are being too much in a conversation or something, a lot of people, and I heard this one already, you can say like, sorry, I take so much space. Sorry that I'm being too noisy or I'm being too loud here. And maybe you can just say, thank you for appreciating me. Thank you for letting me be here. Totally different scenario. Or for those people that are very late all the time, when you always say, sorry, I'm late, I'm always late. Like you see here, the reaction is whatever, it's okay, it's fine. Instead of that, you can just come and say, thank you for your patience. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being with me. And then, as you can see here, we have many different other examples. Sorry, I'm kind of a drag, or thank you for spending time with me. Sorry, I'm just rambling. Thank you for listening. So those are 2 different ways of communication. And I really like to bring that and the importance of especially when we are trying to turn it off to see your faces, especially when we are trying to communicate with the books and we are trying to help them into their story. The way that we communicate with them can either make them write the best story of their lives or the worst story of their lives. So it's very important for us to be able to communicate with them in a positive way, right? So as I was saying, active listening, resuming, oh, so when you mean this is what you mean. Yes. Trying to understand their story by making questions and ultimately being positive in the way that you communicate. I think those are the 4 things that I bring as tools and techniques that I personally use. They may seem simple, but that's the challenge that I give to all of you, to try to use them on your daily lives. And you see that sometimes some of them are very easy. Sometimes some of them are not quite so easy, I would say. So far, so good. Does anyone has any question about the techniques or anything to say about them? Do you guys, and you can put a reaction or something. Do you use any of those like in your daily lives? Maybe without knowing that you're using them, but like, oh, I do this. Does any of you guys like already do some of those things? I'm seeing some faces doing like, yes. See some people smiling. So I guess yes. Okay, good. So when we're talking about these moments, right? As I said, usually I never had any problems. But there were moments, especially in the development of the books, where I really had to use those skills and techniques to support them in those moments. So, and as I said, we said also in the first 2 webinars, and just a reminder, we'll send to you guys PowerPoints later. So you have all of those things that are written, so you can go back and recap on whatever we say here. So you don't have to be taking all the notes on that. But I would ask for you now to take your notepad, if you have your notepad, or if you're writing on your computer, to open your Word document or whatever you're going to take notes. because now I'm gonna go with you guys. So this is the challenge that I propose to you, is I'm gonna go through some steps of the implementation. We already went through some of them in the last webinar, but now I want you guys to think for yourselves how you can implement the human library. So I'm going to give you the step, and I'm going to give you some time to think for yourself. Okay, what kind of partners do I have? Then I want you to think for you, because this is part of the process of trying to understand what you're missing and what's going to be easy for you, what's going to be harder for you. And then during this next session, so this next minutes that we have, I'm going to also open the space for you guys to ask questions while we are going. So let's say we are in one of the steps and you have some doubts about that. Please raise your hand or just turn your microphone on or write in the chat. And then this is a way for us also to clarify doubts that we may have about the human library events. So let me share again the screen. So right now we're going to be talking about the step-by-step, right? And when we talk about the step-by-step, just 1 second. Step by step, we already talked in the previous session a little bit about those steps, but today I'm going to challenge you guys to think for yourself in a more concrete way for those steps. So the most important thing first and before anything is your motivation. So what is your motivation to do a human library? Maybe your motivation is because your boss told you to attend these webinars and they want you to learn how to do a human library. Maybe that's it. That's a valid motivation. Maybe you wanted to hear about it, now you're curious and you want to try to organize one in your local community, in your classroom, with your friends. So what motivates you? That's the first part, I would say. And then what motivates you will actually help you to think about how to start. And how to start is, who are going to be your partners? Do you have partners? Who is your team? Is it going to be you alone? Do you have the people from your organization to help you? What are the needs of your community, maybe, that can be supported by the human library? Maybe you guys are having a lot of trouble with immigrants, or maybe you guys are having a lot of bullying in your school, or maybe you are having some problems, and since we are in the Pride Month, something related to the queer community. So what is the needs of your community around you? And then where could I potentially organize this human library? Maybe my school, maybe my university, maybe my organization has a space where we organize events already. Maybe my local library would be interested in just giving us space to organize it. So what are the places that you could organize this? And when we think about the places, we should always think, as we said before, a lot of different things that we're going to see later, but some of them are accessibility, if the space is good enough for the event itself. So all of those initial questions. And as I said before, is it possible to organize a human library just one person? Kind of, yes, because I did it, but it's not the ideal. So we should always have a team. They can be friends, they can be co-workers, they can be volunteers, but we should always have a team. You can be thinking about it. I will move to the next one soon. Creating a timeline. So this is one of the most important things, because we answered the when, right? When is it going to happen? And how much time do I have until it happens? So how many weeks do you have to organize this whole event? Usually, and I would say that from moment zero to the implementation of a human library, I would say that around 1.5 months is a good time to organize and to prepare it, because there's a lot of things that need to be done beforehand, right? So we need to find the books, prepare the books, find the venue, go and see if the venue is correct. Then we need to prepare the whole visual part of it, promote it, invite readers. How are we going to reach the readers? We're going to see that soon. And then after all that, we need to implement the event. So I would say that usually how I do it is I have this timetable on Excel or somewhere where I divide it by the weeks. So 4, 5, 6 weeks. And then what are the tasks that I need to be doing in this next 5, 6 weeks? So let's say if any of you guys would like to organize a human library around this summer, then, well, what do you need to do and how many weeks do you gonna have to prepare all that, and with what kind of people? Who is your team? What are the tasks that each of you will have? Maybe someone's gonna be in charge of the communication part. Someone's gonna be in charge with finding the books. This is one of the most important parts, because then we have everything organized. And as we know, for those people that already tried to organize this kind of events, a lot of things can go wrong when we have things organized. So imagine how many things can go wrong when we don't have anything organized. All right. Then we have books and readers themselves. So when we're talking about books and readers, it's important for us to know so who they are, right? Who are going to be our books? So, and this is something that it's very important for you guys to think. And one of the ways for us to think about that is who is our resource pool? Who is the people that we know? So do we have a lot of organizations that we know and we can be partner with? Maybe yes. Do we have, uh, is it going to be in our school or university and the books can be our friends and people that we know already? Maybe yes. So who are the people that you would like to have as books? And once again, this is related to our motivation, right? So the books, they need to be related to the topics and the motivation that we're going to have to organize that event. So who are they? Then when we think about the books, we should also think about the readers, right? So who are the readers? Who we want to be our target audience for this event? Are they going to be people from the same group of people? So let's say we're doing it in a school and they're going to be kids from one class, maybe yes. Are they going to be people from the community? So if they're people from the community, that means that, well, we need to reach them somehow. So who are the people that are going to be the readers of your story? And just like Rebecca brought to us, I think, in the last session, what kind of preparation do they require? So not only the books, but the readers also. Do you think they require some preparation? Do you think maybe there's something that we can do before the human library and then we have the human library? So how do we make sure that the readers are also prepared and ready to accept the books? That's also important for us. Right. So the next steps is communication. And here I wrote a lot of things because I think this is one of the most important parts for us, which is how do we communicate with the book themselves? So it's very important for us when we communicate with the books and we present the idea that we explain very properly what is this whole idea and what a human library is and what we're going to be expecting from them. So one of the things, for example, that the people that participated in the mobility that we did before, that we also discussed about this topic, they proposed for the organizers to prepare like a little info booklet, some document where you can give to the books once you have a conversation with them. So in this way, they can, just here. So in this way, they can be very much aware of what is going to be expecting from them. And what kind of information should we be sure to share with them? So what is the project? Is it related to some project that you have in your organization or not? What is a human library? Because not everyone knows what it is. What does the human library event work and what are the rules? So what's going to happen exactly there? What specifically do they need to do? So when we talk about that, is like how many times do we need to talk? For how long do they need to talk? how to develop the story and how to build the cover and the synopsis as well. You have to tell them what is the process going to be like. So we're going to have a one-on-one meeting. We're going to have a group preparation. It depends on how you decide to go, right? Then in what time window do we need their participation? So do we need to be booked forever? Is it going to be for 1 week? Is it going to be for 2 events? Is it going to be for 1 event? How long do we need them to be there? How much of their time will it take up? And not only the time for the event, but the preparation, the event itself, maybe the evaluation after the event. So how much do we need from them? What kind of support do we offer? Are we going to just tell them, yes, the human library is happening in 3 weeks and I want to see you there? Or are we going to actually offer some support? Are we going to have ways to contact them and ways for them to contact us? How is it going to be this process? Do we offer any compensation? If yes, what? They're going to have lunch on the day? What kind of things are we offering? Is it a volunteer-only process? Is it going to be something that we also want to offer them some kind of compensation because we think it's valuable? So how is it going to be like? Then the ethical issues that we brought already, and a lot of people asked, what kind of things that we have to agree beforehand and sign like in a contract or an agreement for, right? So image rights, how much effort, how much time do they put into that? Is it a volunteer process? It is not. So it's important to have all of those information very clear and agreed by both parts. And then support contacts. If they have any problem in this process, who they call to? They call to you, they call to your boss, they call to another person that is helping you organize. So all of those things, they are very important for the books to have very clear once they say yes or no to be part of this event, right? But it's better for them to say yes and knowing what they do, then it gets to the day of the event and like, oh, I didn't know it was something like that, or I was not prepared for something like this. Good. Communication with the readers. This is a little bit more simple, but also the results are very hard to get, which is how are we going to make this information get to our target audience? So like I said before, it really depends on who your target audience is. But are we going to use social media for that? Are we going to use our contact emails? Are we going to call people personally and invite them? Are we going to talk to the teachers of a school and see if they can find a class for us to do it? So how do we actually reach those people? So who do you think could be your target audience? Now that you have a target audience in your mind, how do you get to them? And then I would say that this is very important, which is how do we build up to the event itself? So let's say that you are going to be doing an open event for your local community in your local library, let's say. We should not expect that people know what a human library is. So in whatever way we are calling those people, let's say it's our social media because we have an organization, maybe we can do some build up. So maybe we can post like, what is a human library? What you can be expecting a human library? Maybe we can post a little testimony of someone that already was part of a human library. So this can be inspiring for them to be part of it. So how do we build up to the event itself? Is there any kind of, and again, going back, is there any kind of preparation that we need to be doing with the readers? Then the space, and this is the where, right? So where is it going to happen? And we already talked about those things in the previous days, I think, but just some of them that are very, very important. And of course, there's more things that we can be thinking about when it comes to the space. But for me, those are the most important ones, which is the different rooms or at least different space and some space between where the stories can be told at the same time. So we don't have this noise problem of like, hey, I'm hearing the others one telling the story. This can be very bothersome for some people. Then the spaces where the books can take a break and rest, because maybe they will be very tired after one of the stories and they need some space to chill, to breathe, to relax, to come back to reality, maybe if the story is too heavy sometimes. So it's important for us to have a safe space for the books. What kind of materials do we have available? Like I said before, it's very important for us to have a very cozy, right, environment. So do we have cozy chairs? Are they comfortable? Do we have blankets maybe? Do we have a sound system to maybe put some music, the ambience, so maybe it's gonna be a little bit more calming and soothing in the beginning. So what kind of materials do we have in that space? And then the accessibility of the space. Can we make sure that everyone can have access to the event? Because human library is one of the most important things and one of our biggest values when organizing is to be an inclusive event. So we should be very careful to make sure that, yes, everyone or majority of the people could have access to this event in that space. So where would be the best space for you to do the event yourself? Then how? How are we doing it, right? One of the things that is very important for us is to create a safe space and to avoid some ethical issues, right? So what we can do, and this is one of the most important things when organizing any kind of projects, I would say, is to make a list of what kind of problems can we face. So we are ready for them, right? So what kind of problems do you think we can face in a human library? Maybe we can have bad readers that just don't want to listen and they want to disturb the session. Yes, that can happen. Maybe we don't have enough readers for one of the books. So how do we avoid that from happening? Well, maybe we can have someone that is going to be trying to share their story more than listen to their story. So how do we stop that? How do we make sure that the book's feeling comfortable? Maybe the book is going to be missing on the date. We have books to supply, enough books to supply like the stories, or if we miss one book, like we have to cancel the event. So how do we prepare for those problems, right? So we have to make a list of what kind of problems can we face and then the solutions for them. Is everyone well prepared? Am I ready? Are the books ready, especially, right? Is the people that are going to support me ready? Is the venue ready? The rules and the values. So it's important for us when we present the human library in the beginning of the session. So once we open it, to make sure that we share the rules and the values of the event with everyone that is there, the books and the participants. So our values are inclusion, we value respect, mutual recognition, right? So we are all there to listen, to share the safe and cozy space with each other. What are the rules? The rules are, yes, people can ask questions, people can talk with you in the beginning, they can share a little bit of their story. So we have to make it clear what the rules and the values are. So maybe we can have them projected somewhere. We can have a little paper that we give people with the rules and the values so they have with them all the time. We can just share like 15 minutes before like a little workshop. How do we intend to do that? The agreements and contracts, so like we saw before, it's important to have them ready, agreements and contracts. Are we going to take photos in the event? Do we want to share these photos later? So maybe we also have to have the agreements of sharing the image with the participants of the event. So we have to make sure that all of these things, they are very well taught and very well prepared before the event starts. And then in the end, the protection of the books, right? So how do we make sure that the books are feeling safe? What kind of communication we have with them? How do we communicate with the books? Maybe we have some signs that we have with them where they can ask for help with us without others knowing. Maybe we have a group chat where they can just send a message to us in the middle of the session, like saying, hey, I need support. So it depends on you and the books and how do you feel more comfortable together. But it's important for us to be prepared to protect them and to be facing those negative situations. And you don't have to make the list of all the problems now because, well, there are probably a lot of them. So we would be here for a long time. And then in the end, how do we get the feedback? So how do we evaluate? How do we see if the session went well or not? And how do we improve for the next one? So this is important for us because here we can see, okay, how am I going to get the feedback? Is it going to be like a questionnaire that I'm going to give to them to answer? But then I'm going to really evaluate this questionnaire later, maybe for doing a big project for a company or organization, yes. Let's say you're just doing it for your friends. Maybe you don't need a questionnaire. Maybe you can do a different kind of feedback. Maybe you can have questions that you ask for everyone in the end, or maybe you can have visual feedback, or maybe you can have an online questionnaire with easy questions that they can give you some feedback. So it depends on what kind of things you want to achieve with that feedback, but it's always important for you to have a moment to collect it from the participants, but also from the books. So we know that if the situation in the session and the human library itself, it's being helpful for them or being harmful for them. Maybe the book's going to give you a feedback later like, oh, this was very hard for me. I don't want to do this anymore. Then we need to understand why. Or maybe they're going to give you feedback of, oh, this is amazing. I learned a lot about myself. I want to do it again. So now we know that it's working. So it's important for us to get this feedback from the books and from the readers also. And once the evaluation is done, the event itself is also done. So I would say that these are the main steps when we are organizing a human library. And then I would like to ask from you guys now, because actually this was quicker than I thought. So we still have some time left in the end. And I would like to use this time that we have left just to understand what kind of motivations do you guys have. I know that some of you here are already organizing some human libraries, but I don't know the other people's stories. So maybe you can help each other also by sharing your motivations. So did anyone, I know that some of you went through this process and took some notes. I know that some of you didn't, and that's also okay. Important thing is that you guys are listening to what I'm saying. But I would like to ask for some of you to share a little bit your motivations and what kind of ideas do you have, maybe. So I'm giving you the space now, and then I can also try to help you to make sure that this event is going to happen for sure. So I know that some of you here are here because of your organizations, but also I think that some people are here just by themselves. So what kind of a human library would you like to organize? And don't be shy. I'm sure that you are not the only one with the same ideas. Anyone?
Can you repeat the question, Winnie?
Yes, Sehan. Yes. So what kind of human library are you trying to organize and where, if you already have any idea of it? So what are your target audience? What is your motivation now for organizing an event, if you have already?
This is one of the problems that you list to this training, no? No, but a moment that no one would answer.
Yeah, that's also something that happens, moments where people don't answer, but it's also okay, I would say, because if they're not answering, they're at least reflecting on the problem itself. So that's also good. But as you can see here, Ana Patricia wrote, I would love to do it with senior population with health conditions. Oh, that's very impressive, actually. And Patricia, if I can call you, I don't know, Ana Patricia, maybe. When you think about doing with senior population, with disability, okay. Who would you like to be? So these are the readers you're saying, right? So who would you like to be the books also? So same group of people to be the books. This can be very interesting. Yes, yes. So successful and good stories, right? That they can hear and they can inspire them. That's very cool and very interesting. When we're talking about working with disability, people with disability, then as we should be aware, the preparation should be more true and true, right? So we need to take a lot of care. We need to know what kind of disabilities we're talking about here. What are the needs of these people? So it's very important, right, for us to be prepared, very well prepared with the books and also with the readers in this kind of scenarios. That's very interesting. Anyone here would like to,
as a
physical therapist? Then you already know all of that, Patricia.
May I?
Yes.
As a local governorate, we can do it among the locals and immigrants, like, you know, the Syrian conflict around our country. So the immigrants can be the book or the locals can be the book in both cases, like mutual understanding, to create the mutual understanding. What are the prejudices? What are the expectations? What are the other stuff? And what are their feelings to be in another homeland in
That's
that
good.
case? As an in my organization, I can do it with the international volunteers, like how to be a volunteer in a local place. Even our activities are held on in a small town that's mostly not expected by the volunteers. So to understand their feelings much better, because like interviews or surveys cannot be the 100% feedbacks. So in that case, it can be a good way to understand them better and to find a solution or to make it better.
Yes, that's
Even
very
that
good.
we don't have to make it like in much better places, because we tell all conditions in advance before they come. But no, never mind, like we can still do it much better. Or at schools, but at schools I am still having some questions in my mind.
What kind of questions would you say? What concerns that you have with working with the kids?
Actually, I am in high school, so you know, high school students are like adolescents age, and they don't like to share much deeper feelings with everyone. So that is why also
maybe maybe they are the right target audience then, right? If they don't like to do that, maybe they should learn how to do it. So this can be a very interesting
so
moment.
we have to we have to learn it, and it has to be followed by advisors or consultants, like professions. Because in Turkish we have a saying, when you want to get one good eye, it is not good to lose two eyes.
Okay,
You know?
that's yeah. So one of the things that I can say is when we're working with the kids in schools, we have an advantage, right? Because the group is already there, right? So it's going to be a class or some that is already, they already know each other. So it's easier for us to do that preparation maybe if we want to do. So we do like a little session, a little workshop with them before, where we talk a little bit about inclusion, about being open to listen to stories. So we can do this preparation, and then we can have a human library with them. So maybe this is a way that, well, it's easier for us to make sure that these people are kind of prepared to listen to the stories. So maybe this is one of the solutions for that. We have here Aise, I would say. It can also be done for disadvantaged groups in general, and their feedback can be evaluated. Exactly. So any kind of disadvantaged groups also you can work. And so let's say if your organization or you as a person already, like Ana Patricia here, she works with people with disabilities, whatever kind of group you work with, you can try to implement a human library with them or for them. It depends on the needs that they have, right? That can also be a thing. Anymore? Do we have more people here that would like to organize with schools maybe and kids? You can raise your hand or just put in the chat if yes. Not really. Okay. So just one thing that is very important for those that maybe want to work with the schools and kids is that when we're working with kids, we should make sure that we have the consent of the parents or the teacher or anyone that is responsible for them, because it's always crucial to make sure that the kids also and the people that take care of them, they know what we're going to be doing there, right? As we know, human libraries can be very vulnerable moments, and maybe one of the kids, they can share something, or it can be a life-changing moment for them also. So it's important for us to make sure that everyone is aware of what's going to happen, right? And as Rebecca said previously, if you have the chance to give some preparation to the readers, it's also even better. And does anyone has any question about related to, okay, the steps or how to organize it? You guys are probably very much aware of everything, I would say. Oh, we have here.
I think you have some questions in the chat.
Yeah, I saw them. So my motivation is to explore my potential more and exchange mine and the other people experiences. So maybe I would organize a human library with more mature people, but I also have a dilemma of doing it with teenagers, so they would have some idea of how to shape their lives. Yeah, that's actually very interesting, Fatima. I really like this perspective. And I think it can work both ways, right? So you can have mature people being the books for other mature people. So just so as a moment of mutual recognition, I would say, right? And as a moment of people listening of other people that are sharing a similar stage of life where they are. And I think this can be very, very helpful. But then you can have the same people that were your books on this human library, on the human library for teenagers to show off life lessons, right? So you can frame this with a human library, let's say about professions maybe, and that's something that's quite easy to get in a school with. So we're going to talk about professions and the future careers, but then you're going to have mature people talking about their lives because that's ultimately our goal with the human library. So this is something that you can do. Then Patricia said here, what do you think about seniors being the book to young scholar readers? Exactly. So that's, as I said now, I think it's very interesting, very good. One of the human libraries that I did, I had 3 books that were over, I think they were over 45, 50 years old, the books, and we did with the teenagers. And the teenagers, they said one of the most interesting part for them is that they could ask life questions, like, oh, but what happens when you had kids? Did you stop traveling? Did you but my father said that I need to do this. What do I don't know so it's very good for them to have people that have more life experience. So like this is our 2 ways of approaching it, right? You can either have someone from the same group, and this can be very good for the mutual recognition, or you can have someone with more experience. 2 different goals, depends on the motivation. What did you mean when you refer to materials available in the human library venue? What materials could be useful? Okay, so what kind of materials? So besides the, let's say, the things that are there to make us comfortable, right? So the chairs, the blankets, and all of that, we can also have or need materials for supporting the books while sharing their stories. Maybe one of the books will want to bring materials from that are important for them. Maybe they're gonna bring some toys from their childhood. Maybe they want to bring clothes. Maybe they want to bring something from their traveling. So it's important for us to have a little table or a little space there where they can showcase this. Maybe another book wants to bring a little presentation with photos on their computer. So do we have place for them to put the computer? So these are the kind of materials that I was asking about that can be very useful for us. Some books, they just want to share their story and that's it. But some books, they really like to bring visual or physical support. Maybe music, yes, of course. So I always go with music, especially to create the mood and the space. So if you play like a nice chill music in the beginning, then in the end, also once I did this, which ones that when the 10 minutes for the story to finish were coming, I started to play like a little song in the background. So everyone was already, oh, okay, so we're getting close to the end of the story. So maybe you can use the music also as a way to do that. True people, no. Yeah. So those are actually very valid questions that you guys brought here, especially this difference of age. And I think both of them are very valid and very, very good, I would say. It's a little bit harder, right? Let's say we're working with teenagers and to have teenagers as books because it involves a lot of more ethical issues that may arise, right? So we need to make sure that the parents sign up the consent, kids, teachers, and everyone. But it can also be very interesting. Let's say if we're talking about the topic of bullying, to have kids sharing with kids about that topic and to make sure that this is they can understand each other and to create this empathy, right? It's always easier to create empathy for your peers than to create empathy for someone that is very different from you, I would say. So both approaches are good. It depends on how we can do it. Do you think it's possible to do a human library on a digital platform? That's a very good question. So if I think it's possible, yes. Did I ever try? Not really. But I do think it's possible. part of this project that we're doing now, it's also to understand if it's possible. So we're going to have in this project, the organizations that are doing it, they're going to have some human libraries in person, and they're going to have some human libraries online also. And then we're going to try to understand what are the differences of each of them. I wouldn't say it's ideal because like you're already probably expecting, it breaks the physical contact, right? And the empathy that you can create when you are close to a person. But I would say that it has some advantages also on the other hand, because maybe you can help people that cannot reach certain places. You can open for a lot of different target audience. You can have books from different countries, maybe already in their country. So it depends, right? I think it's possible. I just think it needs to be well taught, and maybe it requires more support in the whole implementation process. But if you want to try, I would say go for it. Just make sure that all the values are there. And this is something that I usually say, which is, and some of the questions that you guys asked before, my answer was similar. If your only option is to do it that way, I would say that go for it, because I would rather to have a human library. And what I'm saying is not do it just anyway, right? I would say like do it following the steps, making sure that we are keeping everyone safe and everyone is well prepared. But if your only option is to do it an online one, well, I would rather to have it online than to not have it at all, right? So it's a try. And then you can give us the feedback how it went also. All right. So if no any more questions are here, what I would like to say now is how we're going to do in the next session, which is we're going to talk a little bit about evaluation and how to make sure that this process is sustainable and how we can convince people in our community to keep coming to human libraries and how we can convince our partners to keep doing it. How can it be sustainable for ourselves also? But then in the end, and this is a surprise because I don't think I told anyone, we're also going to do a little simulation of a human library. So you guys can feel also how it is. And I can kind of have my first trial of seeing how it works online. So it's going to be good for us. It's going to be good for me. It's going to be good for you and for everyone. So next session, we're going to talk a little bit and close the whole event. But also we're going to have a little taste of what a human library can be. And then a little space also for you to give a feedback of yourselves. So bring your smile and your listening face. If you cannot turn on your camera all of the sessions, make sure that you do your best to be able to turn it on in the next one, because it's going to be way more pleasant for the books to share the story looking at your faces than to share the story not looking at them. And just come prepared to listen to good stories and maybe to share a little bit of your own. If you guys have any final questions, or until next week, you thought about something that you didn't know or you would like to know that would be helpful for you to organize your event, the next session is going to be our last time together. So please make sure to bring all your doubts. Make sure to bring your ideas. Maybe you can be like, Vini, I thought about this. Do you think this can be possible? Make sure that you bring all of that so we can discuss in group, because your questions can be other people's questions. And then I don't know if Ashot has something to say. I don't think so. All right. So if we're good and everyone is okay, today we can finish a little bit earlier. But before we finish, as always, I think Beatriz is going to send something to you in the chat.
I am. Thank you for reminding, Vini.
You're welcome.
I'm going to send you the form, the evaluation form for this webinar. I will also send it by email after this, but I ask you please to respond. It's very, very important for us to have your feedback, so we can always get better. And it takes literally a minute, so it's very, very easy to do. So I'll put it in just 1 second.
Thank you everyone for coming. And as a challenge, just for those that have some time during this next week, Maybe you can try to implement one of those techniques, and then next week you can tell us how it went. Oh, this was easy. I did this, I did that. Can be interesting.
Okay.
Right.
So yeah, the link for the evaluation form is already in the chat. So if you have time now, it's literally 1 minute, I promise. If you have time now, go directly, please. But yeah, I'll send it by email anyway to all of you. Thank you so much for being here again.
Yes, and for those that already answered and did the questionnaire, feel free to go, and see you next week, next Wednesday. Bye. Thank you.
So much. It was good to see you. And thank you, Vini, one more time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Benny. Thanks. Bye.
Bye to everyone.
Bye. Bye, Daniel.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye, Rebecca.
Alright. Acho que essas são as pessoas que não
Exato.
estavam mesmo aqui agora no fim.
Sim, acho que podemos fechar. Sentes que
Yeah.
correu bem?
Acho que sim. Lá está, hoje foi mais um bocado também revisão do que eu já tinha falado na última, mas foi tentar colocar mais em prática. E pronto, agora é a última sessão e tentar ver se corre bem a Online Human Library First